Oh, hey everybody, Coach Andrew coming at you from the studio office basement. And today we have another question from a friend. He writes to me, he says, Coach Andrew, I am 13, almost 14. I've got a boy turning into a man. As I recently decided that I no longer believe in my parents' religion. They are Christian, I was raised Christian, and I find myself leaning more and more towards atheism. I have reasons for that which I won't go into detail here. However, what I have found is that my view of the world feels emptier. I feel emptier. He continues to say here, religion gave me a system by which I could judge the rest of the world, by which I could judge my own life. And now I feel like I'm looking for some type of purpose or meaning, and I'm struggling to find it. I'm also dealing with a little bit of depression because losing something like my religion was difficult and not easy to do, like disappointing my family and struggling to see what else could be out there. What should I do? What are your recommendations? What a beautiful question, my friend. That is a beautiful question, and is something similar to what I struggled with when I was a lot younger. I was also raised Christian and eventually began to move away from the institution of the church. I had something that I like to call a YouTube education, which led me to a place in my life where I felt like organized religion was not offering the things that I needed as a young man. I did not feel connected to the community. I did not feel connected to the teachers. And I didn't have the leaders and the role models that I needed to transition from a boy into a man. And what that ended up resulting in for me was the process, the ritual of becoming a man took a lot longer for me. And I had to put myself through my own rituals and go through my own pain and suffering and find my own teachers all by myself because I didn't really have that as a young boy. But you're very young right now. You're very young, and you sound like a very intelligent person who can think critically. So I'm excited to offer you my advice, because if I can give you even one thing that makes sense to you that you can run with, you can make sure that you don't make the mistakes that I did. So the first thing I want to say is yes, for a lot of people, religion is something that provides a system, a structure, some form of guidelines or metrics by which you can judge the rest of the world, by which you can, perceive your reality, right? And try to make sense of things. Because if you have a religion which defines your worldview, right? It provides you with your morals, your principles, your values. It gives you a set of rules, right? A structure that you're supposed to follow. You can then look at your life and compare it to that system. And it makes it easier to kind of move through life because your path is set for you, right? You basically have this guidebook that tells you like what you should do in certain situations, how you should behave, what you should expect. And when you lose that, when you leave organized religion and you leave that infrastructure that's been in place there for you, you kind of feel like a little tiny rowboat, right? That was like maybe tethered to a large ship, and that rope was cut, and the ship is sailing over the horizon, right? It's leaving you, but you're in this little dinghy. And the ocean can be pretty rough sometimes, and without a compass, without a guide, without a system, without that tether pulling you along, without the right leaders and teachers and ideas, you can feel like you're kind of lost in a violent ocean. So the most important thing that I want to drive home for you is that your job now is not to go find a new religion. It's not to try to figure out what the world means or how we got here, what happens after we die, because you could spend a lifetime searching for those answers, and you'll have plenty of time later in your life to contemplate these things. But right now, as a young man, your focus should be on finding systems and principles that will guide you. Because right now, you're probably feeling like you don't have a leader, right? And men particularly, more so than women, rely very heavily upon having hierarchies in place, right? We need leaders to look up to. We need followers beneath us. We need rules in place. We need boundaries, especially a young man such as you. And I mean, you're only just beginning to become a man. You've got 10 more years, 15 more years until you're really a man. And that's a good thing. Don't be intimidated by that. Don't be embarrassed by that. It's a very exciting thing. And you have a lot of great experiences ahead of you, a lot of lessons that life is going to teach you. So I want you to be open-minded, but at the same time, I want you to understand that you do need rules, you need values, and you need principles. Because if a young man has no leaders, he has no role models, no rules, no boundaries in place, he will create them for himself. And a young man without a leader, without a teacher, does not know where appropriate boundaries should be placed. He does not know what a good system of rules looks like. He does not know how to construct a proper hierarchy. And that is why things like crime and gangs and violence are so rampant among young men who don't have fathers, who don't have role models, who don't have teachers, who don't have appropriate boundaries in place. So you need to keep yourself in line. And I take it from reading this email that you're a good kid and you're a smart kid. So I don't think you're going to go join a gang. I don't think you're going to go commit crimes. But you could still do very stupid things that will end up being destructive for your life, destructive for your finances, your relationships, your education, your career. And I need you to be mindful of your capacity for that destruction when you don't have proper guidance. So the first thing that I would recommend you do is you go find a role model, right? And if your parents are at a point where they feel like it seems like they might be leaning towards disowning you, or they're just very apathetic about the whole situation, they just need time. They just need time. See, they're expecting you to become a certain type of man, and when you break that image, as all young men do to their fathers and their mothers, it is a distressful situation, and most parents do not know how to cope with the natural path of a young man, which is to become something different. Most men want to resist and rebel and forge their own path. Most men don't want to become their fathers. Most men end up becoming their fathers, but most don't want to, and that can be difficult for parents to accept. So if your dad is kind of out of the question, you need to find another male role model, and I would recommend looking to potentially a coach if you play sports. I would look to teachers. If you have good male teachers who seem intelligent, who seem like they have an understanding of certain parts of the world. When you're looking for a teacher, it's not so much about what they know, what skills they have, or what they believe. It's more so about who they are as a man, what types of values and principles they carry through their lives. You want a man who has structure, right? Possibly a good family life, a good career, right? He's financially adept. He takes care of his body and his health. He treats people well. That's the kind of thing you want to look for. All of the other stuff really is just cosmetic detailing at this point. But you need to find some mentors. You need to find some men who you can look up to. And you also want to make sure that you have a strong social support system in place. A very important part of becoming a man is for a young boy to be surrounded by other men, people that he looks up to as men. You're a boy. You want to surround yourself with people who you see as men, the ideal that you hold in your head for what a man should be, what a man should stand for. And those men, the job that they have is to help guide you, to support you, to answer your questions, to hold you accountable, to set boundaries for you, and to eventually include you in the group as a fellow man. When you reach the point where you have earned that respect, they will give that to you, and they will treat you as a man. You might be thinking, well, I have lots of friends. Maybe you're in middle school right now, early high school, and you might think, well, I have lots of friends. Do they count? Usually not. Most young men are not on their path until they're about 18 or 19, maybe 20. Most men really don't start finding their way in life until their 20s. And as someone who is entering his late 20s, I can attest. Me and my friends, we've all taken radically different paths, and neither of them have been good or bad or better or worse than the other, but we've all taken very, very different paths. I was married when I was 22, started having kids 2 years after that, and some of my other friends are just now getting married. So I moved very quickly through the family realm of becoming a man. Other friends of mine have moved much quicker through the financial realm, much quicker through the career realm. Everything is going to be paced differently for you. And you have to look at your friends and ask yourself, are these people going to become the kind of man that I want to be? Because if they're not, you need to find another group of friends. And that does not mean you excommunicate your old friends. Keep them close. They're very valuable. You can go through this journey together, right? But you have to have an understanding that you're all very different and you all will end up as different types of men. But you need to find at least a few men who are the ideal that you hold in your head and keep them close. And it's not necessarily always going to be your friends that you have right now as a boy. So finding a mentor is going to be very important, but what else is going to be very important for you is finding a new book, finding a new set of values or principles by which you can start living your life. This is something that I struggled with immensely in my late teens and early 20s because when I left religion at first, it was a very violent exit. I was full of resentment and anger, and I took it out upon the people who had told me that religion, their chosen religion was what I should have stuck with. I was told that this would be my guiding light for my entire life, that this would give me the answers I was looking for. And as I became a man, I realized it didn't give me any of the answers that I was looking for. It was not inspiring. I did not have good teachers. And so when I left, I was filled with a fury. And that took years to cool down. It really did. And I don't even know if that could have happened any quicker. Because the transition was just so fast and so violent, and I had no leadership, no support. It took a lot longer than it should have to get over that. And in the years following that, I struggled very, very hard with finding new rules. And I tried everything. I tried to set new rules for myself. I looked into Buddhism and the teachings of Buddhism for a while. I tried to find something that I could rectify with my scientific mind, but that would also provide me with some type of spiritual structure because internally there was a lot of turmoil and I needed values to stick by. I journaled a lot. I wrote down my thoughts. I tried to create rules for myself and say this is how I'm going to treat people from now on, and this is how I'm going to discipline myself and live my life. And here are the things that I value the most, like eating healthy food, exercising, spending time with my girlfriend, reading books and learning. And I would try to structure my life in such a way to give it that kind of meaning again that you seem to be feeling like you've lost. And the truth is, when you're that young and you're that inexperienced and you're that angry and you're that lost, you will never be able to create a system for yourself. You have to adopt someone else's system and you can build off it at some point. So what I recommend for you is that you begin looking into some philosophies because there are some really great philosophies out there that can help guide you through this time in your life. And I'm going to recommend two to you. I recommend that the first one you look into is a philosophy called Stoicism. And this originated in ancient Greece, ended up moving to the Roman Empire, and was eventually ousted from Rome by the Christians. However, it has stuck around because of its power and its permanence and its ability to really speak to the core of human nature. And I won't go over it in detail. Maybe I'll do that in another video. But go research it and learn more about it for yourself. But essentially, the most important element of Stoicism is the understanding that there is only so much you can control in this life, and your job as a human is to only control what you can control. It is a philosophy of letting go of the things that you can't control, the things that you can't understand, the things that you can't know, the things that you can't change. It's a philosophy that is focused on understanding the worst possible outcome that can happen and accepting it so that you can move forward peacefully and work towards the ideal outcome. It's not an outcome that you desire because you can't control the final outcome. But you can control how you react, and you can control the work that you do. It's a very powerful philosophy, and if you truly adopt its teachings, it will help you move past your frustrations about religion and your desire to try to control the outcome and to try to know everything, because that's what I wanted to do as a young man when I was going through what you're going through now. I wanted to understand everything. I wanted to understand the truth. I wanted to know why I was lied to. I wanted to know why these things didn't make sense and why other people still believed it. And I wanted to know what the best way to live my life was, and no one was showing me. Stoicism would help me would have helped me understand that I couldn't know, and I'm 26 and I still don't know, and I won't know when I'm dying, 50, 60, 80 years from now. So it's a powerful philosophy, and I recommend you look into it. Another philosophy that you can look into that I will admit to being less knowledgeable about, but still very intrigued by and have dabbled with, is a philosophy from China called Taoism. And it's spelled Taoism. And Taoism basically, from my understanding, the focus of this philosophy is to live in harmony with nature. And the Tao is this thing called the way. And it's never clearly defined in the scriptures, and it's never really talked about in a practical, super descriptive way. It's talked about in a very philosophical way, and you're kind of left to interpret some of these things for yourself. But essentially, the Tao is the way, and as you're moving through life will shape itself. It's very similar to Stoicism. It's basically an Eastern version of Stoicism. You can correct me in the comments if you disagree. I'd love to hear your opinion. But essentially, life is kind of like a river, right? And there are so many things. There are so many people and ideas and, physics and chemistry and the universe and gravity. All of these things affect the flow of life. And you're just a little speck of dust floating in this river, right? Maybe you're a fish, a small fish floating in this river. And if you try to swim upstream, you're swimming against the way, right? You're swimming against the flow. And this is going to cause a lot of friction. And so Taoism basically teaches us to swim with the flow, right? If you can embrace the way and just find stillness in the chaos and learn to react by not reacting, you will find the easiest way through life. You will find the answers that you look for because you're not struggling. You're not thrashing and splashing and swimming against the current, trying to hold on to a branch while you're being pulled. If you can learn to swim with the river, with life's difficulties, with the fear, right? With the uncertainty, with the bad things that happen and the good things that happen, and you can do so from a place of calmness and peace and acceptance, life will take on a greater meaning for you. You will have a greater perspective, and you'll be able to sit there and look at the world and see all of the other people who are splashing and struggling and, just grasping for air. But you've learned to float and find peace. And it's an interesting philosophy, and you really have to read some of the texts to understand fully exactly what it's suggesting, and it will probably mean something different to you than what it means to me. But those are two philosophies that I recommend you look into, because if you can find a good philosophy, if you can find a good teacher who has good values and principles and a system for living their life, and they live the ideal that you want to live, you will have a much easier time transitioning into manhood, because right now your focus should be learning. It should be acquiring skills, wisdom, knowledge, building your capabilities so that when you become a man in your 20s, you are able to fully contribute to society. You're able to help and do the most good in your community and, take care of the people who mean the most to you, and also take care of yourself and lead by an example. And if one day you want to be a father, this is important. Right now you are incubating yourself, and you need to nurture your mind and nurture your body, because one day you will be passing on your mind and your body to your children. And it's a lot of work. But really, you'll be fine. And I really, really enjoyed answering this question. I hope that some of the things I said resonated with you, and I hope I have given you a better picture of what, in my opinion, I think you should be focusing on right now, because you are at a critical point in your life where, do not take offense to this, you don't understand any of the things that you think you understand. And I am only a decade and a half ahead of you, and I have only made it to the point where I understand and accept the fact that I don't understand anything. I have come to a point in my life where I realize there's very little that I am in control of, and there's very little that I truly understand and have truly mastered. And when you reach the point where I'm at, and hopefully you reach it a lot quicker than I did, you will be excited by that. You will realize that there is so much you don't understand. There's so much that you're not good at. And there's so many things that you can still become, that you still have time and potential to become. And that will excite you. Because right now I'm in a place in my life where I am just feverishly setting goals. I am obsessively learning and acquiring new skills and trying to reach out and touch people and help people in a meaningful way. And this YouTube channel is just one way that I'm trying to do that and share some of the things that I have learned over the last decade. So my friend, I appreciate your question. Let me know. You can totally reply and send another email. I sent you one back. Let me know if that helps. I'm more than happy to continue talking with you. And the rest of you watching, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. I do Ask Coach Andrew all the time. I have all kinds of other video series where I talk about things regarding self-development, mindset, productivity, entrepreneurship, fitness, and relationships. And if you have questions regarding any of those topics, you can leave it in the comments or shoot it to the email in the description, and I will answer it in another video. You can also check out my website, andrewwuellner.com, to learn more about me, what I do, and what products and services I offer. And as always, we'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.